So you want to try backcountry camping? Hi, my name is Chris, and for the past year, I have been backcountry camping in different provincial parks across Ontario. I've hiked 5 kilometers in knee-deep snow and have camped out in a literal tornado. I have been cold, I have been wet, and I have been hungry. This video is going to be my recommendations to somebody who wants to get into backcountry camping. So here are 15 tips to be safe and to not be miserable. You are going to be outdoors, often very far from any real shelter, warmth, or any way of getting dry. It might seem like a regular camping trip with a hike, but without some basic knowledge and precautions, you could find yourself in a position where you need to be rescued. Tip number one is to plan your trip. Know where you're going, know where your campsite is located on the lake, know the distance of the hike or canoe and how long it'll take. Sometimes it's hard to get an exact time frame, but you should have a good estimate. When you book your trip on the Ontario Parks website, it gives the distance in kilometers on the different sections of trail that you'll be hiking. Know when the sun sets, know the weather, know how long you'll be staying and the amount of resources you're going to need for your stay. Lastly, pack your bags multiple days before you leave so that if you're missing anything, you have time to pick it up. Number 2, buy yourself a proper backpack. This is the pack I did my first trip with. When I got back home, I bought this one. The issue with this bag is that even though it has the right volume to carry everything that I need, when you fill it up, it wants to expand backwards, making the weight go further away from your body. The further the weight is away from your body, the more leverage it has to pull you. When I hiked with this pack, it wasn't a very long hike, it was only about 40 minutes, but I actually had to stop multiple times on the trail to take a break because the strain that this put on my back was too much for me to continue. I've worn this bag for 3.5 hours with absolutely no issues. When you fill this bag, all of the weight stays on top of itself, keeping the weight closer to you, and it basically reduces all strain. Number 3, shoes. These are the ones that I've been using all year. These have seen rain, they've seen snow, mud, water, and these have yet to show signs of any real wear. These were $50 on sale at Canadian Tire. They're just regular woods hiking shoes. Get something that are waterproof. They usually have a little label or a symbol on it stating that they're waterproof. But whichever shoes you get, the most important thing is to make sure that they fit absolutely perfectly. If there's too much room, your foot will be allowed to slide inside, and that friction is what causes your blisters. Number 4, tent. When looking for a tent, there's really only one thing specifically that I would look for, and that is a tent where the rainfly reaches the ground. Tents are usually 2 pieces. Once you have it set up, you have the tent, which usually has an upper mesh portion. Then you'll have a cover that goes on top, which is called a rainfly. Get one where the rainfly reaches right to the ground. This kind of rainfly blocks all wind from getting inside of your tent. If you get one where the rainfly only goes about 3/4 of the way down, wind will sneak underneath and up inside of your tent, and you're gonna have a nasty breeze when you're sleeping. It might not seem like it's a big deal, but believe me, when that cold wind blows through, you'll wish you had one. The other thing I would say is if you're a solo camper, stay away from the 1-person tents. These don't have very much room inside, and when that condensation builds up on the inside of your tent from your breathing and from your sweating overnight, you're going to be rolling around, your sleeping bag's going to be touching the sides of the tent, getting all wet. Believe me, if you're a solo, get a 2-person tent. This also allows you to have your equipment, your backpack, my camera equipment in the tent with me. And as well, if somebody wants to come along camping with you, you have that extra space for them and be able to fit both of your bags inside as well. Number 5, sleeping bag. Get one like this that can be compressed. You have to keep in mind everything you're going to be carrying is going in your backpack. If your bag doesn't come with a compression sack, you could always buy one separately. It basically reduces the size of your sleeping bag by 50%, and you'll absolutely utilize that space, believe me. Other than that, make sure your bag is rated for the temperature that you're going to be sleeping in. This is a -7 degrees Celsius sleeping bag, and I've slept in this in temperatures as low as -3, and it keeps you absolutely unbelievably warm. Keep in mind that the temperature displayed on some of these bags are for the survival rating, which means that you'll be cold at that temperature, but you won't die. All bags have a survival rating and a comfort rating, but some of them only display the survival rating because it's a lower number and it looks better. If your bag doesn't specify, assume that it is the survival rating. Number 6, sleeping mat. If you're not sleeping in cold temperature, get yourself one of these foam ones. These are so lightweight, it's literally nothing to carry. For the same price, I have this inflatable one. They are both equally as comfortable to sleep on, at least to me. If you are going to be camping in colder weather, I do suggest getting the inflatable one. When you inflate this, the air acts as insulation and it keeps you from feeling the cold that seeps through from the ground. I've slept on this in -3 degrees and you cannot feel the ground whatsoever. This one too, again, it's nothing special, it's just woods. The last thing I'll leave you with is to never buy a pad like this. It might look promising because it packs up so small, but all those little gaps where there's no air, your elbows, your wrists, your hip, they sink into that and you'll feel the ground. Number 7, water. You are not going to be able to hike in all the water that you'll need for drinking, cooking, and cleaning. Buy yourself a water filter off of Amazon. These filters filter out any sediment as well as bacteria, making the water 100% safe to drink. Number 8, food. This is completely up to you. You can Google what people normally bring on backpacking trips. You'll find lists everywhere. I find a lot of those options boring. It's a lot of oatmeal, it's a lot of trail mix, it's a lot of beef jerky. I try to bring things with a little more flavor. I've made craft dinner, I've made pasta and meatballs. For the craft dinner, I take the ingredients out of the boxes and I put them in Ziploc bags. This helps it pack into the bag easier. What I've started doing is for the first night, I'll bring up steaks. I keep them cold in a cooler on the drive up, and for the hike, I usually keep one ice pack in the bag with the steaks. This keeps it cold enough where it won't go bad. I have yet to get sick from eating them. And at least that way, you can have one good meal for the weekend before you get into all of your oatmeals and more of the boring food. Other than that, the food is completely up to you. The only thing that you have to consider is the weight of what you're bringing. If you bring things in cans, they're a lot heavier. If you bring dry foods that you add water to later, it helps save weight. Food can increase the weight of your pack very quickly, so be mindful of what you're bringing. Number 9, clothing and staying dry. Possible that it could rain even if the weather says it won't, and no one wants to be cooped up in a tent all day if it rains. So one thing that is essential for me is a tarp. That way, at least if it rains, you have a cover that you can get under, you can still cook under there, you can still chit chat with your friend, and you can still kind of somewhat make a weekend even if it's raining. The other thing that's good to have is some sort of waterproof jacket. This one that I'm wearing is moderately waterproof. This one's good for the hike in if you have some consistent rain that's not too heavy. If I get caught in a thunderstorm, this jacket's not going to hold up. I have one that is specifically meant for big storms like that, but they could get expensive, so I wouldn't recommend that. So one of your cheapest, best options is to just get a poncho. We don't need to complicate things. It's cheap and it's gonna work, so it might be worth picking up. Number 10, drying wet clothes. If you do get wet, you're gonna have to dry yourself out. The fire, of course, is the best way to do that. Find something or make something that you can stick into the ground or hang over the fire to dry your clothes. If your boots are wet, you could take them off, put them on a rock beside the fire, and they dry relatively quickly. However, sometimes you might need to dry something and you're going to sleep. You don't have the fire to do that. So if it's something like your socks or an extra piece of clothing, tuck it into your sleeping bag. As long as it's not slopping wet, where it's gonna wet your sleeping bag, wet whatever clothes you're sleeping in. As you sleep, your body heat is gonna evaporate that water and you're gonna wake up and everything's going to be dry. I've done it in Killarney. The nights were -2, -3. My long johns were wet from the knee down. My socks were wet as in damp, not soaking. And I wore the long johns to sleep. I tucked the wet socks in my bag and I woke up and both things were dry. If everything is wet and you could only dry one thing, take care of your feet. Dry your boots, dry your socks. You're always on your feet. You have to hike in and out. When your feet are wet for a long time, the skin gets very soft and it's very easy to get blisters. And these won't be like a regular blister either. Because the skin's soft, more of it will tear. It'll make your hike miserable. If you don't take care of it, you could get infected. It's rare that that's gonna happen anyway, but if something is gonna go bad, it's gonna start there. Number 11, navigation. Nothing too complicated here. We're not rescue firefighters where we need to navigate by map and compass. A simple map of the trail is good enough. You need something to reference because you will come to a point where the trail splits. What I do is any provincial park I go to, I always buy the map for that area. Before my hike in, I'll take a picture of the trail that I'm hiking so that I can just pull it up on my phone quickly so I don't have to unfold this giant map every single time. So far I've hiked Killarney Provincial Park and the entire lower part of Algonquin. And every single access point, there is a map at the start of the trail. So if you don't want to buy one, you can just snap a photo of that. I like to have the physical map just in case my phone dies or gets damaged somehow. Number 12, communication. I have this GPS communicator You don't need this, as it is expensive, but because I do some solo camping trips, I feel more comfortable having this on me if I do need to contact for help. This uses a satellite network, where there is a satellite always available for this to talk to, but these are not necessary. If this camping thing becomes a part of your life where you're going 10 times a year, then maybe this is worth picking up. But really what I mean when I talk about communication is just letting people know where you are and when they're going to hear back from you. That way, if something does go wrong and you're supposed to be back Sunday night, 5 p.m., you're supposed to be able to text your parents back and they don't hear from you by 5 p.m., maybe you make a plan with them where you say, hey, maybe by 8, 9 p.m., if you don't hear anything, call for help. And how you plan that out is completely up to you. What I normally do is if I say, you're going to hear back from me 5 p.m. Sunday, but you don't hear back from me 2 hours later than that, then call. This way, if it does take me longer to hike out than I thought, or if I get distracted taking pictures or something and it's 5:30, my mom's not freaking out. Oh my gosh, where is he? Again, it's just more for a failsafe. Number 13, tips while hiking in. These are your tips for hiking in. Firstly, enjoy the hike. Enjoy the views, enjoy the scenery, enjoy the sounds. I find that with myself, I get too eager to get to camp, set up, get the fire going, that I rush through the trail and I don't enjoy it as much as I should. Secondly, pace yourself. You'll actually finish a long hike quicker if you keep a consistent pace than if you were to try to rush it and you have to take multiple breaks. You also don't want to overexert yourself and get hurt, or use up all your water, or even get lost. My next tip is to take your time on the tricky parts of the trail. You're going to be hiking in sections where you're climbing over these very large mountainous rocks. There's going to be times where you have to step on stones to cross a river. There are going to be parts of the trail where there's a larger body of water that you cross on a bridge, but the bridge is really just 2x4s nailed together. Last thing you want to do is fall into the water and get all your equipment wet. Lastly, buy yourself some hiking poles. Don't worry if you think you're going to look weird with them. Believe me, it makes the hike so much easier. Using these are like using the handrails on the Stairmaster at the gym. When you're on the Stairmaster, it is twice as hard to try to climb those steps without using the railings. When you have these, you can use your upper body to basically help you walk. With 60 pounds on your back, these help you keep your balance in the tricky parts of the trail. If there's a big step down, you can reach down first to help lower yourself. These are one of the most favorite things that I've bought for these type of trips. Number 14, fire starting. Don't be afraid to bring a lighter. If all you care about is getting a fire going, you don't care about trying to learn fire starting skills, just bring a lighter. If you want to use a ferro rod like me, go right ahead. Just keep in mind that you do need to practice with these before you do take it out for your trip. To get a fire going with this, you need 100% dry wood or tinder, or else you're not going to get anything started whatsoever. But that's why I'll bring this, and then I'll also bring a bag of cotton balls dipped in Vaseline, so you can spark the cotton balls, get the cotton balls ignited. The Vaseline helps it burn longer. It's by far the best fire starter I've ever used. It's the most consistent, it's the cheapest, and it's the easiest to carry. In terms of finding firewood, again, you're hiking in, so you can't bring it with you. What a lot of people do that I see is they just scavenge around on the ground and try to find things that they can use. That's a really good option. A lot of times, the best firewood I found was just on the ground already, ready for me to just pick up. But I do always bring an axe with me, as well as a foldable saw. Me personally, for firewood, I like to find that one standing dead tree that you cut down. That way you could just chop the trunk up into different sections, split it. You have your firewood, you have your big pieces of firewood to keep the fire going. And then the entire top portion of the tree, all the branches, the little twigs that you'll break off, is perfect for getting your fire started. I like doing this so I have all my firewood and it can last me multiple days really, and I don't have to keep going around looking for wood to burn. Only thing is, if you're gonna cut down a tree, make sure it's dead. Firstly, you don't want to be cutting down a live tree for no reason. Secondly, if you do cut down a live tree, it will not burn. I've stayed at campsites where the previous person cut down a live tree, and when you try to burn that wood, it's so filled with moisture, it actively tries to put your fire out, and never mind burn. And lastly, number 15 is to know yourself. Don't do anything or put yourself in a position that you can't handle. If you've never walked 10K in your life, don't pick a campsite that's 10 kilometers away from the parking lot. Don't carry more weight than you can manage, because if you blow out your back or your knee, then you become bear food, and we don't want that. Just do your research, do some experimenting, and you'll be fine. These are my tips for a new camper, coming from somebody who's made mistakes and could have done things better to better his experience. Coming from someone who's wasted money on equipment that he didn't need or could have bought something better to start with. So go out there, buy what you need, go book that campsite, and I will see you on the trails. That is it for this one. I hope you enjoyed. Please be sure to check out the rest of my channel as I upload many other videos involving fishing and the outdoors. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss a future video.